Доброго дня, пані та панове.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Ukrainian Crisis Media Center starts its discussion on the entrepreneurship and cooperation as a means for economic transformation of the communities. Economic development is the driver for the development of communities, and nobody would dispute on that. But we have to discuss how Ukrainian citizens and Ukrainian communities can survive in this situation of the war and crisis. And today we're having this discussion together with the Ministry of the Communities, Development and Territories of Ukraine, representatives of local communities, representatives of the cooperation sector, and our foreign partners. I'm happy to invite Deputy Minister on the Communities, Development and Development of Ukrainian Territories. We expected to have Mr. Nehoda here in the press room. Unfortunately, he was unable to attend. Nevertheless, he is with us on Skype. Can communities contribute to the development of the entrepreneurship and cooperation? Can you hear me? Hello? First of all, on behalf of the public sector, I would like to welcome all the participants of today's event. We are the Ministry for the Development of Communities and Territories of Ukraine, and we have been cooperating with Usaid and multiple projects on the local development for some time now, and we are very keen to support projects which are related to the development of communities and are able to help us to resolve the issues which arose with the beginning of the Russian aggression. Of course, the best way sometimes is to study best practices and the victory which we all are fighting for, and which we try to bring closer, is our overall goal. And the local self-government bodies and local communities can contribute much for our future victory. I believe that here in the deep rear, we should work hard to ensure proper support to be more dynamic, to be able to involve all the reserves and available resources even more than we had in peaceful times, because in peaceful times you might be more or less sure that the business would develop, that tax revenues would come, that some subsidies or transfers from the state budget would arrive, while now in the times of war we are surviving through so-called municipal mobilization, when we try to mobilize all the internal resources in local communities. I would like to thank the Usaid for the support of a series of such events which, as I already mentioned, are very much needed for Ukraine today. I would like to focus your attention at several things. Looking at our today's agenda, I believe that we will hear interesting interventions or presentations from the public sector. I won't refer anymore today for the public sector. I hope that Minister of Finance will say something today, something good. I also expect to hear something very interesting from the international experts, and it seems to me also that we will be very much interested to know what's going on now in the local communities, because in our agenda we're having a set of the leaders from the local communities. So answering once again to your question, or summing up my answer, I believe that the answer is as follows. Discussion of today's topic, which sounds like entrepreneurship and cooperation as a way for economic transformation for the communities, which coincides with the topics earlier studied by the Ministry of Agriculture and Food of Ukraine and some other ministries, is of big importance. As for our Ministry of the Regional Development, we do not have specific programs for the entrepreneurship or cooperation, since the task of our ministry is to ensure institutional capacity of the local communities and to ensure implementation of the policy which is aimed at achievements and outcomes of decentralization. The outcomes of decentralization, they had become a sort of challenges for us, and nevertheless we believe that decentralization is the best precondition for economic development, because decentralization itself is rather simple. It is like a mechanism. When you transfer some power tools to the local communities, some economic tools to the level and powers to the local communities, and actually, our overall objective is not for the sake of this process to transfer some powers to the local communities, but we are targeting the overall outcome to make the life of people better. Unfortunately, with the beginning of the war, and with the challenges of this war, today we have to start actually from scratch in terms of our work in local communities. Today we have to use fully the opportunities the opportunities which were created with the influx of internally displaced people. Of course, internally displaced people, they are a big challenge for local community. They have to create additional and new jobs. And I used to hear from from some mayors, that they have good ideas how to use the potential of IDPs, because of course they create challenges. At the same time, people are our huge capital, and we have to use this unique opportunity. And in this situation, local self-governments, together with business, can make a big step forward in development of the local economy, families, and municipal communities. Thank you. Now let us discuss the opportunities for development. So my question is to the Ministry of Agrarian Policy and Food of Ukraine. We have with us Mr. Ihor Vishtak, head of the Department of Industrial Development, and also the head of Department of the Logistics. Thank you for this opportunity and your attention to the development of rural areas, and for your initiative which tries to find incentives for entrepreneurship and development of cooperation. Of course, we are all in a rather tough situation in the times of war. The government decided to provide a new type of the state support, I mean grants for development of gardening and development of greenhouse farms. That was approved in resolution 228. The resolution provides for the three possible mechanisms how this could be implemented. The grants could be provided through employment services, and those grants could be delivered for development of different sorts of gardening, like vineyards, fruit gardens, and greenhouse gardens. It also sets the procedure how the new business project could be established, and how the grant holder may apply for the grant and get it, and also which banks are authorized to verify the grant holder and provide the grants to the grant holders. The requirements are rather simply described. In order to get grant, the beneficiaries of those grants should be Ukrainian citizens who are not employees of the public institutions. The overall objective of that was to create incentives for human resources and to increase planting of fruit gardens and creation of new greenhouse farms. So the applicant should write down a business plan and provide it to the Ministry of Agrarian Policy. For greenhouses, you may get a grant up to 7 million hryvnia for the fruit garden or orchard. You may get up to 10 million. Also, it is possible to get a grant for establishing a processing enterprise, food processing enterprise, but that grant should be sought from the Ministry of Economy. And also the resolution sets the maximum area of land plot which could be allocated for that. There is also the model design of a greenhouse which is advised for new construction. The design is checked against the up-to-date requirements. The documentation for the applicants clearly explains how to form a package of documents. And you can find this full information on the website of the Ministry of Agrarian Policy and Food of Ukraine. I also would like to point out that the program is already launched, and the ministry had approved 3 orders for the delivery of grants amounting to 136 million hryvnia. That grants already had opened accounts in Ukrainian Usaid Bank, and 8 newly established enterprises are ready to plant the first orchards and greenhouses this autumn. The top priority and the overall objective of that is to increase employment of Ukrainian citizens, and the employers who create these new projects, they have to employ not less than 40 people each. And of course, we realize that employment in the gardening sector and in the greenhouse sector might be seasonal, but despite of that, this would guarantee payment of revenues, tax revenues to the local budgets, and the grants would be oversaw by the government within 5 or 3 years, depending on the sector. And after that period, the government would stop its oversight and allow the entrepreneurs to work independently. My colleague Maksym will join us a bit later. The registration for the submission of application could be done via DIA app, and this could be done easily, and the support could you may also apply for grants supporting production of grain and cattle breeding, And also another issue is with the stock of the crops yield from the last year, from the previous year, and from this year crops yield. And those who have issues with that, they also can apply for the supporting grants in our ministry. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Mr. Andrii Remizov, Deputy Director in Entrepreneurship Development from the State Enterprise Entrepreneurship and Expert Development Office. My question to you: what does your office do to support entrepreneurship development in Ukraine? Thank you for this opportunity. Our office offers many useful things both for importers and exporters. Jointly with the Ministry of Digitalization, we offer a lot of applications. We offer big platform where we have more than 20 different services, online school for entrepreneurs, then a program how to found and develop your own business, then a special tool about taxes, about business plans. If in DIA business app, you may request for any sort of advice on business development. During the last 2 years, we had provided several thousands of consultations. Most often, entrepreneurs ask about taxes, about payment of taxes, legal issues, and about state support programs. We collect all the information about available support for entrepreneurs, and you may find all this collected information in DIA Business app. We also study the best practices and successful cases. Also, we provide news about new available grants, about available jobs in businesses, and about donors' assistance. Actually, now this is an efficient channel for communication with businesses. We believe that information which is often updated is important for businesses. We also offer a special app for exporters where you can find information about specificities of export legislation, about new opportunities for export to other countries, for new opening market. This is like a training tool for exporters, and more than 700 people now are trainees in, so to say, in that app. Also, we provide information, analytical information, what is demanded in the surrounding markets, in global markets, and make decision where to export. although we are responsible for organization of Ukraine's representation in international exhibitions, recently we organized an exhibition about Bayer farm, and we managed to involve more than 120 participants. Also, we plan to organize at least 5 different exhibitions: furniture sector, organic products, machine building sector. Recently, we organized a machine building exhibition for different companies who produce railway stock, for example. Also, we plan an exhibition for light industry. Also, we assist in finding partners abroad, business matching. If you want to export something, you may go to a special app and fill in application and state that you want to export something. When you find a potential buyer who is looking for some products and having a database of Ukrainian producers, we may do this matchmaking of clients and customers. Also, we had created centers for business development in the regions. Currently, we have 20 such branches in Uzhhorod, Ternopil, Mykolaiv, Odessa. As of today, of course, the majority of such centers are more operational in the western regions of the country. They organize trainings and provide consultations for businesses. Also, we have our center, advice center in Warsaw, which provide assistance not only in business issues but also in a lot of social or ancillary issues, so to say. I thank you, Andrii, for this information. Today, our audience includes also local authorities and local businesses. You mentioned about markets for small businesses and medium businesses like cooperatives, whether they apply to you directly and what you can offer to them. Currently, we're carrying out a survey about the situation in Ukrainian business, and we publish the results of this survey, and we clearly see that the biggest problem is low purchase power in Ukrainian market, and of course in this situation businesses are interested in going to international markets, and quite often such entrepreneurs, they request from us so to say diagnosis of potential marketing. That is, we provide advice where this or that product might be offered, at which market it might be offered. Quite recently, we had an exhibition in Zoom Las Vegas market, and that was a commercial exhibition of furniture which is produced in Ukraine. We contacted interested parties, and Ukrainian party managed to go to the United States to show the production. Another good case is production of timber houses, of wooden houses, and it requires cooperation, and now this has become a trend. Several businesses cooperate together and then go to international market offering their products. Those who listen to us today, I encourage you to ask questions in social networks, on our Facebook chart, and on the Ministry of Communities and Territories Development chart. Our next presenter is Mr. Mark Ellingstad, who represents the Usaid mission to Ukraine, and he's director of the Department for Democracy and Governance Development. Mark, how could you how Usaid can assess the development of cooperation and entrepreneurship in Ukraine?
Deputy Minister, dear colleagues, it's wonderful to be here today to be able to discuss entrepreneurship. And as we've seen over the last couple of months, entrepreneurship seems to be a very strong part of the Ukrainian soul. The way that the Ukrainian military has responded in defending your country, the way that Ukrainian civil society and volunteers have stepped up to meet the needs of internally displaced people, and the way that businesses have responded to keep the economy running even under incredible challenges of war. So the world is looking at Ukraine and is very amazed at your abilities to respond, your resilience, and indeed your entrepreneurial soul. And that's what we're talking about today. The background of decentralization, which has been very, very successful here in Ukraine, it provides a wonderful platform for local economic development, for entrepreneurship. And so as Ukraine moves forward with decentralization, as it continues after the war to move resources and responsibilities down to the local level, this will provide many opportunities for bottom-up initiatives, for strong entrepreneurship, for strong local economic development. And while we have the soldiers and army, the military of Ukraine defending the country on the front lines, the local leaders, local entrepreneurs are doing everything they can to defend the country at the rear, where it's also critically important to keep the economy moving, to keep food moving, to keep stores well supplied, to keep the institutions of the modern state still operating. And we have some communities who are represented today who are close to the front line, and they've been able, even under great challenges, to demonstrate great results. And we'll hear some of their stories today so that we can learn from them. So USAID has, since the war started, we've worked on three main things. First, we have expanded our development programs. That includes our programs working with local governments, with municipalities, and that is an important part of our portfolio. We've also expanded our local economic development programs, our entrepreneurship programs, and we will be rolling these out in the near future. In addition to our regular development programs, which we've expanded, we've also provided $8.5 billion of cash support to the government of Ukraine. And this is important for paying salaries of teachers, for paying salaries of healthcare workers, and for keeping the economy going. And we see a very strong commitment from the American people, from our Congress, to support Ukraine. We've also mobilized $1 billion of US taxpayer money for humanitarian assistance, and we'll be continuing that in the days ahead. So USAID is working in those three fields: development, cash transfers, humanitarian assistance, and we're very proud to be a strong partner of Ukraine. In the months ahead, in the years ahead, USAID and the American people will continue to stand with Ukraine as Ukraine heroically defends its land, its sovereignty, dignity, democracy, and the significant gains it's made over the past 30 years. Slava Ukraini.
Дякуємо, пане Марку.
Thank you, Mr. Ellingstad. And I would like to invite Mr. Vitaly Yurkiv from Usaid program DOBRE. Vitaly, I understand now you're going to speak about the DOBRE program, which has been working in Ukraine since 2016, almost 6 years now. My question to you, whether all that experience that you accumulated through these 6 years, whether it helped you to work within that 6 months, and which parts of your program should be paused for some time because of the war, and which deserves further intensive development. Thank you for your question. I hope that my presentation will answer your question. Our DOBRE program had been launched 6 years ago. In 2016, we work in six regions of Ukraine. We work with more than with 100 communities. Our budget is $67 million, and the program is to work till the end of September. Nevertheless, we had received requests from local communities in Ukraine for the extension of this project, and we will apply for extension. Our overall objective is to support the local self-government, provide methodology and ensure capacity building. We try to assist local self-governments to understand better their available resources, and to teach them how to use those available resources efficiently. Our second objective is to involve all the stakeholders in the community into decision making, in order to make decisions more tailor-made and more responsive to the local needs. In the context of local economic development, promotion and support to entrepreneurship is one of our objectives. Also, we plan to support active businesses. Quite often these are cooperatives and small entrepreneurs. And today, Deputy Minister Nehoda mentioned that human resource is the main source in local communities, main source for development. We also understand this, and we contribute much to development of human resources. Also, we offer projects how to work which teach local entrepreneurs how to work with investors. We work with local communities in capacity building, create or help to create bodies in local communities who are able to identify available resources for economic development and develop these resources. Part of our projects are supported financially. As for the support of entrepreneurship and creating incentives for entrepreneurship, we provide expert support. Quite often, without expert support, local communities do not know how to use available financial resources efficiently. We also provide regulatory analysis and advice. And advise how to prevent local businesses from wrong actions with the change of legislation. We also advise local communities how to use their financial resources and to allocate financial support to the creation of new businesses or startups in their communities. Then we advise how to establish, how to do design of public spaces for entrepreneurs. We are able to provide architects, designers who assist local communities. We also assist in creation of space plans and master plans for the cities and towns. We provide advice how to improve infrastructure for tourism and entrepreneurship in local communities. Create business support centers or agencies for local community development. We also provide and support centers for education aiming to employ young people in local communities. We advise on the infrastructure for festivals, fairs, different festive events. We also support creation of co-working spaces with professional equipment in all possible sectors demanded at the local level. Together with the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center and our experts, we assist local communities in creating promo videos and quite often this has a big assistance to the businesses, especially in these times of massive relocation. During these years, we implemented 48 hard projects and 99 soft projects. What we offer for the development of cooperatives, training program and targeted business advice. We cooperate with experts and provide expert advice in the local communities into the members of future cooperatives. We assist in registration of newly created cooperative, which is very beneficial for local community. They will pay taxes to it. Then we assist in creating business plans. We assist in search for premises for co-financing. Quite often we advise on the access to equipment, how this could be done on the framework of effective legislation. We also offer training visits, spread of best practices, international conferences, and we are happy when after such a training visit the participants come very much inspired and with good plans for future. We also provide advice on the updated legislation when it changes, and also provide information support about available resources, partnership, etc. We assisted 18 cooperatives in 16 communities from 9 regions of Ukraine. I would like to thank to those who provided questions when registering to this event, and one of the most often asked question was what is the role of local community in cooperation development? Find a driver of changes in your local community and identify what help they need. Then find where to get this help, this assistance. And when the new business becomes successful, spread information about this achievement, about this success, and do not forget to become the customer of these new businesses. This will support local development. This slide represents best methodologies and best practices. I would like to invite you to our website. You see the link here. Usaid.gov.ua, and you may find a lot of useful and interesting information. And actually, these are descriptions of very practical cases, very practical experience. Thank you, Vitaly. In chat, I can see more questions to you. We will ask them a bit later in the Q&A session. We are very grateful to our international partners. We feel your strong support in our today's difficult situation, and not only Usaid, but also our partners from the European Union have joined our discussion. Mr. Richard Rozwadowski from the EU project Institutional and Political Reform of the Small Businesses in Agriculture in Ukraine, IPRSA. And we have Mr. Valery Bondarchuk, expert from the same project. I will start, and then Richard will join us a bit later. Okay. How does your project cooperate with local self-governments, and what do you offer to them? Our project is closely working with many communities in Lviv, Transcaucasia, and Ivano-Frankivsk regions in Ukraine. And I will say a bit more about our major areas of work. Today, we are more focused on adapting our activity to the current situation in the country. We want to change our work in order to make it more efficient for our customers, because we are targeting micro producers and development of micro producers. Please launch my presentation. The first slide. Our project is called Institutional and Political Reform of Small Agricultural Businesses in Ukraine. And it is targeting small agro-producers, agro-farmers. We are dealing with farmers and their families, financing, institutional support to them, increasing impact of small agrarian producers to formation of agrarian policy, support of the new added value chains, implementation of better agricultural practices, and approximation of Ukrainian legislation in this area to the European acquis communautaire. We support rural communities in development of local businesses, creation of the necessary registers, especially farmer registers, creation of new products with geographic marks, recently, our project supported a group of Ukrainian experts who made a training visit or educational visit to the European Agrarian Parliament, which deals with the development of agri-sector in Europe. They visited local businesses, and such exchange visits are very important because it creates incentives for local producers. And now I would like to give the floor to Richard.
To see you and happy to be invited. I know we got limited time, so I just really want to say a couple of points. I've lived and worked in Ukraine for the last 18 years and 10 years in Poland before then. And I've seen a lot of projects.
І я бачив багато різних проєктів на підтримку розвитку фермерської спроможності. Деякі з них вони були невдалими. І потім я зрозумів, що треба вивчати досвід успішних кооперативів, тому що коли маленькі фермери працюють разом, то вони можуть багато що зробити, набагато більше, ніж ідеальні фермери. І я розумію, що створення великого кооператива – це як стрибнути в холодну воду для багатьох фермерів. І це робилося ЄС свого часу в Польщі, коли надавалася підтримка фермерам і особливо групам фермерів, група виробників у нових державах, що готувалися стати членами Євросоюзу з 1999 року, отримувала до 200 тисяч євро підтримки. Це було набагато більше, ніж індивідуальний фермер. Це могла бути група із 3 фермерів, які укладали між собою дуже просту угоду, як вони спільно використовуватимуть, наприклад, чи то спільну техніку, чи спільні склади, чи спільно потужності спакування. І в Польщі це дуже розвинено. І на 7-8 років це стало величезним поштовхом для Польщі, яка розвинула величезне виробництво сільськогосподарської продукції та її пакування, і одним з найбільших виробників цієї продукції в Європі. Це заохочує фермерів об'єднуватися в маленькі групи, а потім такі групи переростають у кооперативи. В Центральній Азії ми трошки працювали, і вони там називалися такі маленькі групи, називалися група спільних інтересів. Вони вирощували абрикоси, наприклад, і хотіли їх пакувати. І вони сформували групу спільного інтересу. І
groups often, and then these groups can often then also get grants or preferential credits or something, and that helps them to develop. And again, many of them then become cooperatives. So I just really wanted to say those two things, that's maybe an easier way of starting off the development of cooperatives. And I think the other overriding thing that's been very successful over about the last 15 years has been the development of value chains. I mean, especially in products like fruit and vegetables and dairy, where you can really add a lot more value. And then when you're creating a cooperative or a group, at the same time, you really focus on creating this added value, and that makes the whole group more viable, and it makes it much more sustainable. So really, that's the main things I wanted to say, and wish you good luck and continuing success with the project.
Richard, and what about DAR, SAR? You had a slide about DAR. Okay.
Пане Валерію.
Колеги, да, дякую.
Dear colleagues, thank you. This was Richard's slide who wanted to share with you that our project supported the establishment of the state agrarian register and provided 50 million euros from the EU funds, which allow us to support agriculture producers who are registered in this register. And now this support is available for them. And also we provide support for the storage of grain. These were resources provided by FAO. about groups of producers, of agro-producers. In Ukraine, there had been several attempts to institutionalize farmers and agro-producers. When support is given to groups of farmers, this group of farmers is a sort of cooperative, but it is much simpler, and the most important parameter of this group is to produce quality product, and that's it. Now, legal base allows to create something similar to groups of producers in Ukrainian legislation, and further on we will lobby for the group of agrarian producers in Ukrainian legislation. Now I would like to describe what is AKIS. This is a system of knowledge and innovations in agriculture. This is a European approach which says how people and organizations get united for the exchange of information and knowledge in the area of agriculture and neighboring areas. In the center of the system is a farmer who is consumer of the products of this system, and all the stakeholders, they work for the sake of better result to be produced by farmers. And now we work on the launch of AKIS, of introduction of AKIS system in Ukraine, because now we have the candidate status, and our objectives here coincide with the objectives of AKIS. What do we want from AKIS in Ukraine? We want to provide innovative farmers with good solutions. Those good solutions may be developed with research institutions. The system of information should be flexible, should be able to absorb new innovative technologies and offer them for implementation in Ukraine. We hope that we will be able to involve many stakeholders to this project. In November, we plan for big international conference to present AKIS in Ukraine, to invite best experts from AKIS. They will describe the available models for work in AKIS, and will allow us to develop strategic documents about AKIS in Ukraine. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. This were Richard Rozwadowski and Valery Bondarchuk, and I was informed that Mr. Ellingstad is unable to stay longer, but we have some questions to Mr. Ellingstad from journalists. I'm Sabina. I'm editor from Agromedia in Kharkiv. My question to Mr. Ellingstad: what are priorities of Usaid in development of local economies in Ukraine?
One thing that we're doing right now is to expand the DOBRE program. We're investing in further $40 million and bringing the period of performance out to 2025. But we're also expanding our small business programs. We're working with a loan guarantee with a bank to make loan conditions that are a little bit easier for farmers to afford. And I would say also very important is reforms on the land market, very important on rule of law reforms as well, because investors, be they Ukrainian investors or foreign investors, need to have certainty about legal contracts, and that is also very important. So we're working pretty much across the board, and the agriculture is absolutely a bright spot of Ukraine. And one of the things that we worked on this summer was trying to facilitate grain exports, which has been challenging, but there have been some ships getting through, and that will be a continuing challenge that we'll work on with the government of Ukraine. Thank you so much for the question.
Дякую. Колеги, чи є ще запитання? Так, ще одне запитання. Прошу.
One more question to Mr. Ellingstad. We can hear you. I am Rodko Katerina from Znamenska Gazeta in Kirovograd region. Which projects from DOBRE program were implemented in Kirovograd region? Perhaps this is a question to Mr. Yurkiv. If I speak about cooperation, in Dmitrievska community, we supported creation or establishment of cooperation in which deals with processing of grain, and created a bakery. And the second cooperative was created on the basis of current dairy processing business. They produce cheeses. This is a female business, by the way, and that contributed to the local development and food security of local community. Also, we supported to cooperatives in production of honey in Malo-Uskivska and Dobrenetska communities. Thank you for your questions, and we continue our discussion. It's my pleasure to invite Sofia Burtak, who is manager of the agriculture economy. This is Canadian support project. Please describe what support is available to the cooperatives from your project. Thank you for invitation. In extension of the Kirovograd area, I am now presenting from a field in Kirovograd region. I will slightly describe support of cooperatives. When you hear support of cooperatives, this is actually either direct donations or direct support, but actually support starts at a bit earlier stage, at the level, at the stage of idea. People first have to decide to produce added value to get more income, to cut down expenses, etc. The same driving forces are for establishment of cooperatives. And when farmers decide about investments, they try to simplify either processing of foodstuff or packaging of processed products. Much was mentioned today about the benefits and issues with cooperation. This was about access to the markets, which might be difficult to individual farmers, but becomes easier for the cooperatives. Systemic support to cooperatives from the government of Canada and the government of United States. We may offer continuous support programs which might be useful for both hard and soft projects, and also they promote the whole idea that when producers get united, they have more opportunities to find new markets and to find new opportunities for development. That is when you this is the idea which should be kept in mind when you provide advice and consultation to the farmers. I can share my screen, and I would like to show you some infographics. Our experience in work with cooperatives. We have found that support should be provided in 3 levels, 3 steps. The first level, there's a knowledge. Knowledge is important because people need to know about cooperation and possibilities that it offers is the first step to create a cooperative. Actually, at this stage, you realize the need to create a cooperative. So the central things, the central consideration for creating a cooperative should be the usefulness, the need for such a cooperative. And at this stage, the decision is made by farmers whether to continue with individual business or to get united with other farmers. Level 2 is the cooperative academy, so to say. That is an advice how to develop your creative. We are not universal experts, and we offer specialized consultations. For example, in finance, in business planning, in marketing of the cooperative services. This is an interesting nuance. In this member-oriented organization, the marketing should be divided into internal marketing and external marketing. We also may offer an advice of an expert who advice on the cooperative development, how to choose the role for individual cooperative member, how to make decision about the cooperative structure, etc. I agree with Richard. The simpler is a cooperative, the better. When you have just 3 members of a cooperative, it's easier to make decisions and to vote for them. But when we discuss a cooperative which unites up to 200, 250 members, you have to think about transparency, you have to think about productivity. And we advise to how to organize the general voting, etc., to make it transparently. Quite often we face a lot of prejudice against cooperatives. I recollect 2009, 2010, when I started to work with farmers in Western Ukraine. When people heard the word cooperatives and people suffer from trauma of the Soviet system, when the cooperatives are perceived as Soviet kolhosps, and when we start to work with the democratic system of decision making in cooperatives, this may break down this prejudice and treat the trauma. The democratic practice of regular meetings of the board, making minutes, voting, etc. This is like a cradle for democracy, like a nurturing cradle for democracy. And you simultaneously develop a business and an individual farms. So cooperatives are very interesting from different aspects, from different points of view. And the third level is when we cooperate with the cooperative staff. Recently, we understood that we have to work with the cooperative employees even more intensive. Once we had a truck driver who was very demotivating working in the cooperative, and we understood that we had to overcome his prejudice against cooperative at the individual level. When we speak about the third level, this is about leadership. That is what Vitaly mentioned. Formation of leadership is important. When people get united, they need knowledge. They need to master technologies, how to work together, how to develop financial models, how to shape the business process. That is, business management skills are needed. Quite often when there is a small producer, then business management might be very simple. I would like to remind you about timing and in order to develop better management, business management in the cooperative, the leadership needs a special skill. So we have to train them, and not only the managers, the accountants or financial managers of a cooperative, but also we provide training for the leadership of this cooperative. And eventually, I would like to mention that we work with different organizations, and part of those organizations are cooperatives in the Northern America and in Europe. During this period of war, our cooperatives survived, and we are happy that they have survived, and they keep fighting. They struggle for their access to the market. They look for the channels, supply channels, and one of our cooperatives was in Donetsk region, and they relocated and changed the area. And by the way, the survival and resilience of cooperatives is higher in businesses. And they are able to survive and demonstrate resilience in longer term than individual farmers. And strategically, now our cooperatives have received even more opportunities than it was before the war. I would like to thank to the organizers who organized my trip, my participation in a trip to the European Agro Parliament, and that inspired me with new ideas and to see new instruments which we did not apply in the past. Our producers are now supporters of standardization and certification, which they had been opposing before the war. Sometimes people are very much scared with launching something new. Many and our participants who are now volunteering for the army, they learned how to produce, how to make new products and to search for new opportunities. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you to Sofia Bortak. Thank you to all the speakers from international assistance who described very interesting best practices and support projects. I'm happy to introduce Mr. Roman Karinets, Director of the All Ukrainian Public Organization, National Association of Agricultural Advisor Services in Ukraine. How to scale up all that experience which Ukraine has accumulated by today now in the situation of full-scale war, in order to offer new and preserve and offer new jobs and to produce more added value. Of course, unemployment had jumped sharply in Ukraine. In July, the official statistics offered 35% of unemployment in Ukraine. Thank you for your question. I will answer in a moment. But our topic is about entrepreneurship as a way to transform the local communities. What you mentioned about unemployment. Unemployment means that our level of business development in local communities is insufficient because they are interconnected, and partially this is the outcome of inherited by Ukraine from the past. The majority of local communities are in rural areas, and it's quite clear that agricultural businesses and cooperatives should be agrarian. Then the next question, whether we need rural communities, what are the quite frequently made mistakes, and whether we need them. By the way, when the war started, big shops in Kyiv were closed while small shops were still working. This illustrates that when you have only big agro-producers, this may be a threat to the food security under each threat, and the resilience of smaller businesses is and small agro-producers is much higher. Actually, we try to support them and increase the number of local agricultural businesses. Recently, we had an online workshop, rural communities and businesses, and before that we had a seminar, local rural communities and cooperatives. And what we have learned that people who work in those local rural communities could be a big scale-up tool for the best practices, but you have to communicate with them. Our seminars are enlightening experience for local communities. Yesterday, I asked people from local communities, have you read the law on cooperatives or the law about business in local communities? And I found out that not so many people were familiar with that legislation base. Till recent past, many local communities were more preoccupied with reallocation of land in their communities and getting transfers from the central budget, because they, in the past, local businesses provided not so much to the local budgets. In a situation when you have subventions and subsidies from the state budget, you neglect the new opportunities opening in your local agro-production. So local communities should become closer to local farmer businesses and create local programs for the support of agro-businesses. Support of agro-businesses and support of family farms. This is the area of the Ministry of Agriculture, and local communities pay no attention at that. But that's not right. Local communities and local governments should target development of local farmers as their priority. Big agro-enterprises are quite proficient in establishing relations with local communities, and they have no problems. While smaller farmers have to be nurtured by local community. Now, in these conditions of war in Ukraine, farmers may not expect for the support of agro-producers. Business is a long-term program. Cooperation development is a long-term program. In order to establish a strong cooperative, you have to work with one cooperative within 5-7 years. But we lack such an institution. Till now, we do not have state institutions to support small businesses, micro businesses, especially agro-businesses. I appreciate very much what digital business support is doing, but they are oriented more on exporters, while we have to target micro and small agro-businesses in Ukraine. The state policy, the public policy should be long-term and far-reaching. If you create state support for a long-term support of agriculture cooperatives, then this would be work for the future. At the governmental level, I do not see any before the war, I did not see any such bodies. Unfortunately, the law on the agricultural cooperation is not workable. They have said A but not said B. Because in the tax code, you do not have such a taxpayer as an agricultural cooperative. When we speak about micro businesses, they are not in internet, they are not online, they are quite conservative. Because people in rural areas are more conservative by nature, and you have to work with them individually, face to face, not via online contacts. You have to work directly with the farmers. Who works today with the farm cooperatives. The most successful are those cooperatives who benefit from the from cooperative advisory services. It took years for a cooperative to build up in a grain storage. If you take public pastures, if you take local processing points, all this take years, and it requires a lot of support from advisory services. You have to teach the marketing management how to manage a cooperative as an establishment. With my huge respect to our projects of international aid and assistance, nevertheless, I would like to point out to one big shortcoming. The majority of cooperatives in Ukraine are established with the support with international technical aid, and in the areas where this support is a long term, then cooperative becomes efficient. But 2-3 years, if this assistance becomes a short term, then this cooperative won't survive. So we need more technical assistance projects that will introduce institutional change, create new institutions. That is, the projects should not substitute advisory services. Perhaps it would be better to develop local Ukrainian advisory services and to force the government to create such an institutions in order to ensure a follow-up for such international aid projects. When the project of technical assistance is over. Take the example of the European Union. So a big task in order to scale up the system of cooperative network is to create the whole system of advice to such cooperatives at the governmental level. When we speak about entrepreneurship and cooperation, we should understand that these are just the same stages of this same process. Individual entrepreneurs are not able to go to the market, while cooperative is able to go to the market. And at this stage, local communities should step in and provide advice and institutional support. The organizational role of local communities should be strengthened. Informational support is not sufficient. They need to play organizational role. And now let us go to the block of practical implementation. We have Mr. Zarya, Grigory Zarya, from Zaporizhzhia Oblast. Grigory, could you describe your issues with the creation of good owners cooperative in Mikhailivka village in Chernivtsi region? What was positive and negative in your experience? I'm happy to welcome you. Twice we faced crisis I mean our cooperative, and twice we understood the benefits of our cooperative organization, because this strengthened the food security in local communities. First crisis was during COVID pandemic, when all the logistics was ruined. The issue of food stuff arose, and the second case was during the first month of this war of 2022, when again logistics was ruined, and only our cooperative was able to ensure regular dairy product supplies to local population. I would like to show you a small small presentation. I will say a couple of words about our local community. It was created in 2015. In 2016, we became a subject of budget. We are at the border between Ukraine and Romania. The population is a bit more than 19,000 people. We have around 10,000 of population of workable age. We collect 54% of our revenues as income, as tax revenues, and all the rest of our budget is provided from the state budget as subventions. And we unite very different villages, and from the very beginning we had a task to strengthen the capacity of smaller villages which do not have big resource potential, but had human resources and land resources. Thus, we decided to create this cooperative, which is called Good Owners, and thanks to the DOBRE program, we strengthened institutional capacity of our cooperative, and we received additional equipment due to the project. A background of our cooperative. The cooperative started to work earlier than it started to produce products, produce cheese. A lot of work was done to get new knowledge, to study experience, and to study the lessons learned by other cooperatives, which allowed us to prevent mistakes. In the crisis moments, local people understand the benefits of local cooperative producers when they come into the shop and say, we're happy to have our own cooperative who supplies to our local shops and to neighboring villages and ensures our food safety. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to answer your questions. I have Volodymyr, my colleague, with me. Perhaps you will have any question. Thank you for your brief presentation. I'm happy to invite Mr. Talas Balandyuk, co-founder of a cooperative as a bee from Buzka community in Lviv region. I have read your interview. In your interview, you described your plans for 2022. And in that interview, you mentioned that your objective were to preserve jobs, to help to the Ukrainian army, and to preserve the business. Thank you for your question. Yes, we managed to keep with that, to stack with that priorities. For us, leadership is important. Entrepreneurship means leadership. We started with active support of the Ukrainian military. And we did our best to preserve jobs, and we managed to pay all taxes properly. What do we do as a cooperative? We grow up berries at more than 100 hectares. We managed to attract investors. These were Ukrainians. $1 million was invested by Ukrainians into our cooperative, and we purchased buses and donated them to the armed forces of Ukraine. We also provided help to Ukrainian IDPs in result of war who required rehabilitation. Our investors, having seen that we are able to demonstrate leadership and responsibility, responded with additional investments. And I would like to make several comments for the local communities. I'm a bit nervous because of the big audience of this event. How do you understand that the local community values what you do? I'm trying to find better words. At the beginning, we had problems with local communities, and we always tried to resolve them via constructive discussion. Maybe you have questions. What do you do as a cooperative? We grow up berries on 100 hectares, and we involved investors from Ukraine and brought together farmers who are working on the 100 hectares. Is it one community? These are 3 villages in one local community. We will come back maybe with questions to you. Now I'm pleased to give the floor to Shirokivska community in Zaporizhia Oblast. Before February 24, Denis Korotenko, head of the community, would describe good success and etc. But how to ask a question to you when part of your community is occupied, people are under continuous shellings. Do you manage to develop business in these conditions? Or better to say, whether you have minimal preconditions for business operation? Who helps more, business to community or community to business? Dear colleagues, I will present our community. I'm Denis Korotenko from Shirokivska community in Zaporizhia. Community. I was re-elected as a chairman in 2020, where between Zaporizhia and the Dnipro city on the right bank of the Dnipro River. In general, we had 50,000 people. Today, we have 30,000 people because of IDPs. We had created a development agency which provided advice to the entrepreneurs and the farmers and businesses before the war. We tried to develop support of businesses in our local community as a one-stop shop. And to offer services to all sorts of businesses, from small ones to big farms. Before the war, we had discussions with businesses, open discussions with businesses about their problems once a month. We invited tax service representatives, employment service representatives, and businesses to such meetings. That allowed to look for solutions efficiently. Our objective was to show that the local community and local authority, these are partners who value the taxpayers, that we were able to support any businesses in our communities and were interested in their stable work. Before the pandemic, after the pandemic and before the war, we were keen to resume our very active work. Before the war, we managed to bring into light from economic shadow hundreds of hectares of land and revenues, and raised tax collections. We were on the eve of launching our portal, news portal for businesses, where to publish vacancies for job seekers and potential employers. Unfortunately, the war had changed all our plans. Before the war, we had opened a business hub, which was a space for new entrepreneurs, negotiations, Zoom conferences, for those who kick off their business and have no space for separate office or additional equipment. For this year, we had Aero Club opening, construction of aqua park, and development of a cooperative in honey production. Unfortunately, now we have the front line 40 kilometers from our village. We survived through several shellings, fortunately without victims, but we have some injured people. We have 15,000 of IDPs. The majority of our people are dealing with help and support to those IDPs. About business development, part of local businesses had relocated to safe locations or have plans to relocate. The markets have become a problem. Human capital is a problem. Unfortunately, nobody can think about business development in these conditions. The businesses cannot plan for the future. They have to think about their survival today. So the regime of survival is the only one possible way for businesses to exist. We have problems, technical problems with soundness. Our internet connection is very poor. Sorry. I would ask you to reconnect, either turn off your camera, please, and then we will hear you. I have turned off my camera. We can hear you. Within last 10 days, we had only one quiet night today. This is our reality. We understand quite clearly that unless in Zaporizhia region everything is quiet, we won't have any prospects for the future. Economy is very dependent on the environment. People see what happened to the businesses in the occupied territories. What can we do for businessmen in pre-frontline territories? State subventions, tax vacations, interest-free loans, always very low interest rate, simplification of reporting, and social packages for employees. Of course, businesses may relocate and this is the threat for local community. We have to retain businesses. The extreme danger is the reality of our local community, and the only way to resolve this situation is to gain victory. Thank you for invitation to speak, and glory to Ukraine, glory to the armed forces of Ukraine. Thank you to Shirokivska community as your informational partners in Ukrainian Crisis Media Center. We are always ready to bring you into the focus of medium events. And now I'm happy to give the floor to Ivano-Frankivsk region. I'm happy to invite Peter Haidaichuk from Piadetska community, Ivano-Frankivsk region. They have 30% of revenues from production of blueberries. As far as I know, this appeared to be very successful project. How do you teach people to become entrepreneurs? How do you support active entrepreneurs? As far as I know, you are now planning to create a cluster on blueberry production in the region. We can see you, but do not hear you. Try to turn on your mic. Good afternoon. Try to turn off your camera and speak, because we have technical problems. Briefly, I would like to say a couple of words about my community. I'm a member of Piatnitska community. We are in Ivano-Frankivsk region, Kolomyia district. Our infrastructure is as follows. We have 5 schools, 5 kindergartens, we have a swimming pool, we have a music school. When we were created in 2016, we have 9 villages and up to 15,000 of population. During first year upon creation, the infrastructure proved to be hard to be maintained, but then we joined the DOBRE program, and we were taught how to work in a social sphere, how to develop local community, how to plan the budget, how to work for the transparency. Technical interruption, no sound. Petro, we do not hear you. We were trained. We had many training trips. We visited farmer enterprises and studied best practices. We are agricultural community. We made an inventory of our lands. It took a lot of effort. We had to apply to court and win the lands. And we created also an algorithm we had received a grant from DOBRE program. We started to develop as agricultural community. Then we allocated big territory from that one land plot to this project and started to grow up blueberries. From the very beginning, we took the European experience. We managed to launch our enterprise, to launch our production in a very smart way. Now we process more than 1,000 hectares of land, and we have big plans for the overhaul of infrastructure like sewage, water, pipelines, reconstruction. And now we work on the extension of our project. We have found 16 more hectares and grow up different products and involve new technologies for watering, adding fertilizers, etc. More than 50 people are employed in our municipal enterprise on growing blueberries. Now, in our plans is to increase to increase production of berries, of blueberries and raspberries. Project DOBRE assisted us greatly. They developed business thinking among our people, and local people started to grow up berries also in the private. In their private land. Actually, we involved all our agriculture land reserve into production. We are very grateful to the DOBRE program, which provided us with a lot of support and allowed us to launch profitable businesses. Now we are happy that we are busy and able to develop our local communities. At the end, I would like to say glory to Ukraine. We will strengthen our economy and build up a strong state. Thank you for your optimism and your readiness to work further. we have exhausted our agenda and our time, and we have questions. Safronova Yulia from Zaporizhia. What are the instruments for entrepreneurship development which are used in the conditions of war, whether they are different from the pre-war situation? Yes, thank you for the question. At the beginning, I voiced several novelties, informational and consultancy support, participation in exhibitions, participation in international exhibitions for exporters, marketplaces, trainings, etc. But if we compare this, how the situation had changed from the beginning of the war, we have a new app, Yerobota, which is aimed at employment and provides information about new jobs available for IDPs, etc., and provides advice to people how to launch their own businesses. Then 579 program, these are special interest rates on loans given to businesses, and we see that the program is going to develop. Recently, portfolio guarantees for this program were voted and passed. These are state support programs. I won't mention international programs available for businesses. Recently, GSZ and our agency had launched a program for 130 enterprises which suffered from the war. They have got more than 100,000 euros to preserve businesses, to preserve jobs, etc. That was available on DIA portal. Every day we receive suggestions from our partners. Nina Borodina, how to attract investments under martial law regime. First of all, organize information and post it on your website about your community available resources, and then disseminate this information about potential investors. What premises do you have? What labor resource do you have? Quite often, lawful communities may show their so-called economic profile and try to communicate with your local businesses and assist them to get rid of excessive premises and excessive land plots. I would advise to local communities to develop the contacts. Also, you have to voice up your problems and look for partners. In Lviv region, we have good cases when after loan negotiations, people managed to invite investors. How to get contacts of the good owners cooperative to establish cooperation with you and supplies from your enterprise. I'm director of this cooperative. I can answer this question. We have a website. We are upgrading it now. after pandemic and the beginning of the war. So currently we work on upgrading of the website. Very soon we will start to get requests. And a question from press room. My first question is to Mr. Maksym Kobzystyi, if Gazde or any of our today's cooperative whom we've seen would approach to you and request your assistance to go to the external market, you will be able to help. This is the first question, and whether the and the second question was about a novelty about cooperatives. All the exhibitions are made with the support of our external partners. We are now planning BFAG 2022 and Eco products exhibition. This will be exhibition of organic producers, and we disseminated information how to apply for participation in the exhibition, and our colleagues from cooperatives, which were described today, may apply, of course. I also will add the good owners are not alone in their businesses. In Ternopil region, we have similar businesses. In the Verkhovna Rada, there is a draft law about amendments to the tax code. If there are no preferences norm in the tax code, the problems may arise when getting the state support which is offered. Today, dear colleagues, we have heard interesting ideas from people who continue their support of the Ukrainian economy and develop local economy. With this, we are very grateful to all the participants, and we wish you all the best, and Ukraine will